$1 million offer. Go vegan just for 1 month. No milk, no meat, no eggs. A challenge not directed at just anyone.
We're asking for Pope Francis' help to protect our planet by drawing attention to the devastating impact of animal agriculture.
With or without the Pope, the point was still made. If we want to limit climate change, we must alter the way we eat. Now, while being vegan was once a fringe movement, today it's going mainstream.
I love it.
I'm going to be uploading a new plant-based recipe.
All of these recipes are well balanced, delicious, and of course they're vegan.
Today, even the land of beef bourguignon has joined the game. In 2016, the sale of vegan products jumped by 82% in France. Vegan restaurants, grocery stores, and even dairy-free cheese are finding new fans. But beyond being fashionable, a vegan or vegetarian diet is also a response to an urgent environmental crisis. Livestock is responsible for 15% of global greenhouse gases. That's compared to only 2 or 3% for aviation. So, to save the planet, should we just all go vegan? Hold up, not so fast, because 37 scientists from all over the world studied this question for 2 years and came up with what's known as the planetary health diet. Their conclusion: to preserve the environment, we don't have to ban meat and dairy entirely, to which the omnivores say,
we can pass on to our children a diet that is healthy for both people and for the planet. That diet allows some amounts of red meat, poultry, fish, dairy products, but it's flexible.
So, if you're determined to keep eating meat, this is what your plate might look like in 2050. Red meat, a maximum of 100 grams per week, the equivalent of 1 steak, double that for fish and chicken. Eggs, not much more than 1 for the whole week, the equivalent of 1 glass per day of milk. Feel free, however, to go wild on nuts with 350 grams, similar for dry beans, chickpeas and lentils at half a kilogram. It's nearly an open buffet for carbohydrates though, such as bread and rice at 1.5 kilograms. The same amount for fruit. And finally, vegetables, the big winner, with 2 kilograms every week. And if you haven't already heard of it, it's time to become familiar with a new term: flexitarian. That's because that's what this diet is all about: eating less red meat and fish without giving it up entirely. In other words, flexible. More than that, if we all become vegan, the planet won't necessarily be better off. First, livestock farmers would lose their job and income. And their land? Abandoned? Vegetables don't grow everywhere. In sub-Saharan Africa, for example, 60% of the land is arid. We also need to consider the developing countries where 2 billion people suffer from malnutrition or famine. Removing animal protein from their diet would only worsen the situation. Even the environmental organisation Greenpeace agrees.
What we have to do is stop consuming industrial meat and industrial dairy products, or eat less and replace these with meat and dairy products produced in a more sustainable way.
It's now time for another word worth remembering: reducitarian. It means someone who is reducing the amount of meat consumed for their health, the environment, and protecting animals from cruelty. Arguments that are not always easily accepted by meat eaters.
If someone is unwilling to go vegan, there's still a lot of room for them to make meaningful changes to their diet. If a person simply did Meatless Monday, where they cut out meat on Mondays, or if they embraced weekday vegetarianism, where during the week they were vegetarian and on the weekend it was their choice. All of these strategies are not just acceptable, but fabulous.
In short, it's time to put an end to the ultimatum of all or nothing. It's also time to put to bed the cliched image of those who don't consume meat as seed-eating, hemp-wearing hippies, and make way for the modern vegetarian who relies on a healthy mix of vegetables, lentils and chickpeas in their diet, food staples that could go a long way in weaning us off our dependence on meat.
Les Legumes contain a large amount of protein in the range of 20 to 40%, but the composition of protein in legumes is different to the composition of protein in cereals. And so these are relatively complementary. It makes sense to mix them or eat them at the same time to recreate a protein profile that would be quite similar to that of meat. Roughly speaking, if we want to mix wheat and peas in a dish, you should use 2/3 of wheat or wheat-based products and 1/3 of peas. So if you look at couscous, for example, you have chickpeas, you have durum wheat, that's semolina, and so in this case we're balancing the nutritional needs thanks to the chickpeas.
You still eat chicken? There's no need to feel guilty if the answer to this question is yes, because there's no need to become vegan to save the planet, but being a flexitarian or a juicitarian, well, that could help.